Hey guys, and welcome to the newest episode of Be Hero Presents the Bump Card Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, as always, Brian, and with me tonight is my tag partner, Psycho. How you doing tonight, Psycho?
I am doing good. Happy to be healthy enough to be here.
Right? Yeah, we missed a couple of weeks because of you being sick, so. But that's okay. We had some things in the works we had to sort out, but now that you're here, we're able to get those things started, if you would. So, are you ready for this, Psycho?
I am very excited for this.
Me as well. Because we also have with us tonight a fantastic female wrestler who I'm happy to say is definitely one of the best trainees and best students we've had at ASWA, also Wrestling Academy of Utah, in the last several years. She's been doing an amazing time there. And as I'm sure Psycho will let you know, he had a big hand in making sure she got there. But I would like you guys to meet the one and only current Utah State television champion, Reina, King of Dragons, also known as Zan, who also has been a host with us here on Be Hero Presents on Slightly Agitated. How you doing tonight, Zan?
I'm doing pretty good, Mike. How are you doing?
Oh, living the life, trying to find the time to do everything I'm doing.
Right? I mean, the best thing to do is just X out sleep. Who needs it? It's overrated.
No, it's true. So
yeah, that might have been my downfall. So
yep, I feel that. It's certainly mine. And just so you know, Psycho, Glade's trying to steal your thunder of saying he's the reason that I'm at DCW. That he helped a lot.
Here's the thing, though. Glade has no follow through. So
that's it.
Accurate. And so when he hears this episode, he'll be able to be like, "The hell!"
He's gonna be so pissed.
He's gonna message me like, "It's like, really, mother." Yeah, he'll be upset. He'll message
me. Yep.
I'm ready for it.
I didn't say anything either way. I'm actually just trying to start some heat. So I am absolutely stirring the pot.
All right, with that being said, guys, we are still going to do our news of the week, which would then follow, and after that, we will be doing our interview with Zan. So, as we go through our news of the week in the wrestling world, Zan, of course, you're welcome to chime in if you have any thoughts or feelings about what we talk about.
Of course.
So, all right, so I go get us started on the news of the week.
So I want to touch on some things first that happened on this past Monday Night Raw. I'll
take a wild guess of what part of Raw.
There's certain parts, but I'm gonna save that part for last.
Yeah,
before we get to the other news. But let's start with there was quite an incident with Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley, and then Becky punching Dominic Mysterio like very stiff. Like it looked like if you watch the replay of it, it's like one of those slow motion like punches from boxing or UFC, where it's like, oh my gosh, how does he not have a broken jaw?
Ooh.
Oh yeah,
it looked legit.
It was a good shot. It was definitely a good shot.
And when I saw the promo between, because I haven't watched the whole Raw thing yet, but for this last Monday, I saw a clip of the promo between Becky and Rhea, and Becky looked pissed. Part of it looked shoot. Like it looked like it started as a work and also kind of ended as a shoot.
Yeah. It's funny because speaking of Becky on this, she did an interview recently where she basically was on some podcast, and she said that she's got 2 months left on her WWE contract, and they have not talked to her about renewing yet. So that seems, and they asked her straight up, they were like, "Is that normal?" And she was like, "No." So I don't have any doubt that they're going to re-sign Becky. I just don't, because Becky's money. But who knows what's going to happen as far as the booking goes and stuff like that.
Right.
I assume that if she beats Rhea Ripley, that means that she's worked out a new contract. So,
right. I wonder if even like it's like trying to start like a new storyline and seeing how it takes, and if it takes well, then determine maybe even they're just trying to determine like the contract value based off of if they can get like a story going, like a main story going with Becky. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it could definitely be seeing like, okay, can she still deliver in those big matches? Do the fans, is she as hot as she was?
Right.
And
I think it's marketing.
Mm-hmm.
It's 100% marketing to me. They're doing the same thing with Drew. So technically, Drew hasn't signed a new contract.
Right. He hasn't.
That's right. I heard about that. I heard about that one.
I think what it is they're going to try and stir it a lot where people are going to be like, oh, if they haven't signed and not at this WrestleMania, this might be the last match we see with them at the WWE, at least for a while. So they're trying to make sure that they're just trying to milk every single possible cent out of everything. I'm pretty sure she's already has a handshake agreement already done, as well as Drew.
Could be.
Just they're trying to sell it as in they don't, trying to work the fans in that aspect, just to try and get those like last little bit of people to be like, I'm not sure about WrestleMania, which I don't know how you don't get WrestleMania this year. Holy cow.
The build for WrestleMania this year is the best that they've done in a long time. Like, it is amazing, like how they've built this WrestleMania. And speaking of Drew, I know I was going to talk about it last, but I'm just going to, since we're talking about Drew, I'm going to go into this.
Yeah, let's talk about my boy Andy.
Andy?
What? Yes, my boy Andy. Wait, do you guys not know this story?
No.
Tell.
Oh shit. Okay. All right, I'm gonna do it on the bum card. Okay. I'm an embarrassment to indie wrestling. Let's just be real clear. Pre-interview, I just want to say I'm green as baby shit to wrestling. And so, 3 years. I've been watching wrestling for 3 years, training for 2, okay? 2.5, whatever. And I love Andy and I love watching him, but I did not recognize him one time. And I definitely made an ass out of myself. So now everyone in the locker room knows, and so I just always refer to him as my boy Andy. Yeah. I was backstage as an extra, did not recognize him. I don't know if we should tell this story, actually, because I don't know if I want to totally admit. But anyway, I said something totally silly, and I hope everyone forgets and he never remembers. But forever and ever now, it's just an inside joke. That's my boy Andy.
That is hilarious. So, I believe that Drew is doing some of the best work of his career. Like, I totally believe that he is. He has completely rejuvenated his character, and so I think it's good that he didn't sign earlier, because I think he's worth a heck of a lot more money now. So he should be like. There's no way they let Drew go. That's my opinion.
No way.
There's no way they're letting Drew go, because think about this: you let Drew go, and he just shows up in AEW at their Wembley show, in the summer, and it's like, what are you doing? So Drew right now is at the top of his game.
They're not letting Drew go. I mean, look at the storyline that he solely is building between him and Punk for what'll probably be SummerSlam.
Wait, what do you mean solely?
Up till Monday, it was been Drew essentially the whole time carrying the storyline with him and
Punk. Punk always has a lot of. You're right. He didn't. He hasn't been doing it like Punk says. Everyone's always talking about him. But that promo on Raw so CM Punk comes out. It's in Chicago, which is always a rabid crowd for Punk, and he basically is talking about like he's going to be at WrestleMania. He doesn't know in what capacity, and maybe he'll be guest commentator or referee for the world title match between Drew and Seth Rollins. And so Drew comes out, and they basically, Punk and Drew, just like troll each other big time, back and forth. It was amazing. One of my favorite lines was Drew was talking about how he was the chosen one back when he started in WWF, like before Vince McMahon. Are we allowed to say his name?
We are.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yes. Yes. So he had said, that he was the chosen one. Well, Punk, this is the first time they've ever even alluded to him since he's been gone. And Punk was like, who made you the chosen one? Say his name. Say his name. It's like, what paragon of virtue bestowed upon you the chosen one? And of course, Drew couldn't say it. So Punk kind of got the last word there. And it was awesome.
Between their interaction, I had two favorite ones before we move on. Mm-hmm. My one was just before that, where Punk is going through his different shirts. So he's got the Savior WrestleMania shirt. Mm-hmm. Then he takes off and puts on the meme shirt with the CM Punk's WrestleMania hopes or whatever, WrestleMania dream, right? Punk, and while he's taking the shirt off, Punk's like, yeah, I never had to put somebody else's name on my shirt to sell merch, and that killed me.
Fuck.
And then, but Punk goes off and talks about because later on, to bury the lead a little bit, but later on, Seth Rollins comes out, right? And so Seth and CM Punk are going at it, and CM Punk's like, I don't need to. He said something to the effect of, I don't need to do it unlike these two dipshits. But of course, they had the bleep out shit. And as soon as he gets done saying that, Drew's like, PG, brother.
And Drew's on the sitting on the commentator desk on the commentator table. So he's like just basically like watching this, like just sitting there, and he chimes in here and there while Seth and Punk are having their war of words. And so it basically comes down that Punk is going to be there ringside doing commentary, because he says he's the only one, he's going to do what WWE couldn't do in the 10 years since he's been gone, make these two guys interesting. So and it was pretty awesome.
So the other part too that was making me laugh is right at the beginning. It was like right at the first few lines of what Punk was talking about. He's like, I'll be at WrestleMania. My arm may not work, but my mouth does. Ask April. I died.
Oh, jeez.
April, of course, being AJ Lee, his wife. So
right.
Oh man. But it was a really good promo between the three of them, because it was off the cuff for the most part, and it felt real, right? There was no scripting whatsoever to it.
And I apparently they went long, and so they had to make several segments after with no entrances and cut matches, or cut the time on matches. And so, but I think they're going to get away with it because the rating was a monster rating. It was the highest quarter hour that they've had pre-pandemic. It was huge. It was a huge rating. They had over 2 million people watching for that quarter hour, just their segment. Ooh. And so, yeah, it was the highest rated segment of the entire show. So, yeah. I think Punk was a good signing. So, but so then let's talk about The Rock and Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes had started the show, right? I think they were the first thing on the show.
They were the start of the show,
Yep. So Cody Rhodes is out there, and The Rock makes a surprise appearance. He wasn't even advertised for the show. And so the crowd, of course, going crazy. And they come face to face, and they spent a bit of time just basically staring each other down.
It was easily 3 minutes of nothing, no conversation, no nothing, just staring at each other. And it was that similar feel like The Rock and Hogan at 18 when they were having that stare off. it was exactly that same feeling, and the fans were going nuts. They were chanting for Cody. They were chanting for The Rock. They were saying, this is awesome and shit like that the whole time.
So Rock just basically like whispers in Cody's ear, kind of like how he whispered when he first showed up, in this whole story, and whispers in his ear, walks away. And it's later revealed, and if you read his lips, you can kind of tell he says, "Tonight I'm going to make you bleed." And so later on, The Rock basically lays a huge beatdown on Cody Rhodes. Like, it lasts forever, and it's stiff. Like, and he makes him bleed, and he's gushing. There's blood in WWE again, because Cody Rhodes was bleeding, and they were outside fighting, and by fighting I mean Cody got basically no offense. It was Rock just demolishing him, and it's raining. It's pouring rain outside, and so you kind of like get like Cody like bleeding with the rain just pouring, and. Ooh. The only thing that would have made it better is if there was like lightning and thunder, happening at the same time. Right. But amazing segment. And it kind of makes me second guess like any possibility of like Rock like siding with Cody, or turning on Roman here at WrestleMania. No. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited for it.
They're swerving totally in, like, not even just swerving, like they're swerving off the road, off the mountain, all the way into the ravine of Rock Heel, that it's not even funny. Like, he's so far, like, this is probably the heelish Rock I've seen maybe ever, or like right up to the Mick Foley Rock feud that they have. Like, that's how heelish The Rock is right now, and it's fantastic. That being said, have you heard the other theory / controversy from this segment that came out of it?
No,
I don't think so. Fill me in.
In the part where, so it starts off as a because the whole segment starts off at the tail end of a match with Uso and my brain just turned off. Oh, Shinsuke, right? So with Jay Uso and Shinsuke, and then the Bloodline rushes in, Solo and Jimmy to attack Jay, but then you had Seth and Cody rush to save him. And they're fighting to the back, boom, boom, boom. And they literally, towards the end of this, after Jimmy wins, they do a long one take of Cody and Jimmy fighting to the back, right? And so they fight all the way back, boom, 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 boom. And then out of nowhere, The Rock attacks Cody, because Cody's on the aggressor in the fight. And then The Rock attacks Cody and just beats the ever-living hell out of him all through the backstage, and eventually works to the outside, which obviously the rain wasn't initially part of the storyline thought, but it was great because as soon as Rock opens the door and pulls him outside, he looks out and sees the rain. He's like, oh, this is perfect. This is great. Like, he knew it was going to be great with the rain. So they're going through and they're fighting through the back, and it's in the back is where they have all of the trailers for all the equipment and everything. So like the WrestleMania trailers and all these other trailers, you've seen them when every time you go to a show, you'll see the trailers with all the people on them. Well,
yep.
They do a long shot with Cody getting his ass kicked right in front of one of the trailers that has Austin,
Stone Cold Steve Austin, yep,
and Cena on it, and it's a long take right there. And somebody comment or asked about it later. One of the interviewers asked about it later. Was that meant to be a thing? And they don't say yes or no, but they say everything's on purpose on it. And so the current rumor is night one, and sorry for spoilers if it ends up being true, but night one, Cody and Seth lose the tag match.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it goes into night 2 where it's bloodline rules, but Seth is taken out of the match. Drew, like he gets injured, so he can't help, and it's just Jay the help. And Jay comes to the defense, and him and Jimmy are going at it because they already had their thing, but he can't do much against everybody. And so, and then The Rock is out there, Solo is out there, and of course Roman. And so, to even up the odds, the last person that Solo Sikoa beat and handily beat was John Cena. So John Cena comes back and helps out with that. And then, of course, of all people to go against The Rock, famously, is Austin. So you hear the glass break when like The Rock is getting ready to hit the people's elbow or something on Cody. And stuff like that to even the odds to make it an even fight at the end.
That would be pretty epic.
That would be epic. Super epic.
Super overbooked. But it's overbooked I would be able to deal with.
Right. And like it's hard, right? Because like they don't have to do that. Like you said, like they're already setting up like an amazing Mania. So you already don't have to have Cena and Austin there. But holy shit if they did.
Yeah. Just hearing that glass break, like it's like Rock's going for the elbow, like he's all like fucking shit, getting ready to drop the elbow, and you hear the glass break and watch the Rock's reaction. The crowd will lose its goddamn mind. That being said, I will lose my goddamn mind at the house. So.
I would too. We're gonna do a WrestleMania party here too, so absolutely same.
I'm so excited.
Speaking of things being done on everything's done on purpose, that reminds me that did you also notice in the backstage segment that there was a shot of Paul Heyman talking with Drew McIntyre?
No.
Go back and watch. Drew is talking with Paul Heyman in the back. It kind of gets a glance of that. So unless that was just a coincidence that they somehow
it wasn't.
There's no way.
It wasn't. No. Right? Well, here's the thing. Like, I won't say like a shit ton because again, like I don't know what like you can say and not say when you get to kind of go backstage a little bit for extra work. But I did have the opportunity to see Paul Heyman work for like promo stuff, and I will just say that everything he does is intentional. Everything that he does is intentional. Like I just see it. Like I hope I'm allowed to say that. Yeah. He's great to watch. Oh my gosh, he's great. And hearing him talk and go through his I love it.
Paul Heyman's definitely one of the legends of the business that has contributed so much. Brilliant mind.
Brilliant mind.
Yep.
Oh yeah, he should. Yeah, he should.
Well, he will. He's getting inducted this year. He was the first.
Oh yes.
Yeah, he's headlining the Hall of Fame this year. So
that's great. I'm so bad at the Hall of Fame stuff. I think I missed part of the one last year, but I had to go back and watch it. That's awesome. Good for him. That's great.
Yeah. Paul Heyman being inducted in Philadelphia, it's perfect.
Oh yeah. We talked about this on a few episodes back. That he was like, he was pretty much our number one of who should be in the Hall of Fame, like our picks to be announced, and it was like a week later he got announced.
Nice.
The WWE listens to us and agreed. So
I know. I mean, they watch this. Don't you know? The producers watch your podcast, and they know what the experts, you guys, want. You guys speak for all wrestling fans. Clearly,
you heard it here first, everybody.
That's right.
You do not.
It does make sense.
Against Dan's opinion,
right?
Yep. Hey, mine's the only opinion that matters. We know that. We all know the girl's opinion's the only one that matters.
You know, legitly though, like knowing her for over almost 3 years now, 100%. Like, there's been times like, no, this will work fine, and so I'm like, I don't know, and then I ends up being, I was wrong, of course, and she's like, yeah. Totally not going to gloat about it, but I was right.
Yep. Oh no, I'm a humble bragger.
I wish you would have stopped that lightsaber duel we had at FanX a couple years ago.
Yeah,
it sounded good in our heads, but
it started great. It started totally fine, but we botched the end. So, oh well.
Yeah, I think it went downhill when like I think it came out of my hands. I think it was.
Something.
Or yeah, I think you knocked it out of my hands, or I dropped it. I was like, oh crap, what do I do now?
You dropped it, and they didn't like it when it seemed like I did know how to wrestle.
Yeah.
So once like that illusion was broken and the lightsaber was dropped, they were out. But it happens. You still have to try stuff.
And that's a great place to do it too.
Oh, FedEx is the best place to try stuff.
Right.
It's the best place to try stuff, especially when you're doing 5-6 matches a day. That's what we did last year.
I'd rather experiment there, and if it works, it works, and if not, who cares? Than do it on one of our actual shows.
100%. 100%. And you never know what's going to work. We could have done it and just tweaked it a little bit, and it could have worked fine. You just don't know.
Yep. Exactly. So last bit of news before we get into fully interviewing you, Zan. So Ronda Rousey has been making the news. She's coming out with a book that goes in detail on her time in the WWE, and there's some people she's like, as a whole, she basically calls the WWE a shit show backstage.
That's interesting. See, and I don't know anything about this, so I'm going to ask like a bunch of questions. So I'm ready for this. Keep going.
Yes. So she definitely has a lot to say about Vince McMahon. She's glad he's gone. But she doesn't believe like, she'll believe it when she sees it that he's really truly gone. And so, but she like has comments like, she talks about how one of their biggest shows is they go to Saudi Arabia, which is a country that controls women like Vince McMahon probably wishes he could, and stuff like that. And then talks about how it's hard to tell where Vince McMahon's real life persona and his on-screen character end. Things that people have said before, so nothing too. I mean, nothing too like surprising there, but she completely tears apart Bruce Pritchard and tears apart John Laurinaitis, and says basically John Laurinaitis is like a 80s frat boy or a 50-year-old frat boy, that is like completely, a clown. And doesn't treat women well. And then she says that Bruce Pritchard, she says, if you had the exact like person that, what does he actually, what does he actually do here? If that was a person, it'd be Bruce Pritchard. And she says that she loves like a lot of the people in WWE, but Bruce Pritchard and John Laurinaitis, they can go F themselves. So that's just the stuff that's come out so far. And she's been doing interviews like talking about this stuff and saying that she would have went a lot more into the toxicity of the WWE, but she was contractually obligated to keep her book to 90,000 words. So it was, she's not happy, and she says that she'll never come back, so they can't control her. She can say what she wants. So yeah,
it's interesting too, because along with that, and also as you mentioned earlier about the podcast episode that Becky Lynch was on, Becky also has comments about Ronda Rousey on that episode, and there's a lot. So be careful when you go to read it, especially the snippets of it, because a lot of people take things out of context.
Yes,
I initially read it that Becky shot on Ronda saying that she can't wrestle. And what it ended up being was not, it was those words, but not exactly that intent in the words.
Right.
Is she did say that she can't wrestle in the same way that she does, or she wasn't trained as a wrestler, she was trained as this. And she's had really great matches with people, including, with herself and the triple threat that they had, and the matches she had with Triple H. And that was part of the problem is they saw that she had one good match with Angle, Stephanie and her. And from there, everyone just thinks she was a great wrestler. And she's not. She's a great character worker. She was a great this. Like, she talked her up. But you see Becky, and it kind of sucks that people do this, but they did the clickbait bit of saying that Becky Lynch says that Ronda can't wrestle.
Right.
And so always go and check your sources on stuff like that to find out exactly what they say. But Becky had some stuff about Ronda to talk about too.
And she basically just says, that she wasn't handled correctly.
Yeah.
And Ronda admits that too. She also said that when she had time to like prepare for months in advance, then that tag match at her first WrestleMania was great. When they just thought that, oh, she's got this down, and they just started like basically telling her like what was going on day of the show, that's when it's like it's not going to be any good. She didn't know how to call things on the fly.
Well, she was still right.
She was still
she's still
exactly.
Yeah, that's a big shoe to fill when you're still green as far as like wrestling. Like that's kind of not fair for her.
Yeah.
I think she should have been used sparingly, and kind of like Logan Paul is. I think it should have been like that, and that's why his matches have been so great. If he was there every week, would they be as great? I don't know.
I don't know either. And like Ronda seems like a better option to just have out every once in a while as like build her up as just this big monster. Like Ronda could be someone who could be built up to challenge Rhea if she was done right, because Ronda's such a powerhouse. But like if they like saved her as like this secret weapon that only comes out from time to time to shake things up and change the status quo, that could have worked.
Yeah, like a female Brock Lesnar. All of this nonsense.
But, let's use a different example now, because you don't want. Right. You already got one podcast canceled. You don't need to get a second podcast canceled. Okay.
Every time you're on,
that's what I do. It's a gift.
But no, but that kind of concept, right? To come in as a part timer to be that big,
powerhouse,
unstoppable beast. Yeah. And
they basically overexposed her, is what they did. They made her just another woman wrestler instead of making her an attraction. And that's when she excelled.
So, all right.
Cool.
Before we go on, is there anything else news-wise we want to talk about, Tycho?
That's the biggest stuff.
All right. Well, that's been the news of the week, guys. So now we're going to go ahead and talk about Zan.
My favorite subject. No, I'm just kidding.
The humble one that she is.
You know it.
So, Zan, let's go ahead and get started, as we always do when we do these interviews, and ask you simply, how did you get into watching wrestling and subsequently into the business?
So I was dating someone a few years ago. Like, it was a long relationship. But I would say about 4 or 5 years ago, I met a friend of his. My boyfriend's at Anime Bonsai. Woo, go Anime Bonsai. I'm a total nerd. And it was Tyler Beef, Orcut. And I didn't know that at the time, and he wrestled. And I hadn't gone to any of his shows or nothing like that, but we just started watching wrestling at home, AEW, got super into it. Went to FanX cosplaying Aubrey Edwards because this is not my real hair color. And when I try to look like Aubrey Edwards, I look like Aubrey Edwards. Went to FanX cosplaying and was told there was a ring. Shit, let's get in the ring. Let's ref a match. Oh, we have a school. Fuck it. Why not? Let's try that too. And the rest is history. Fell in love with it.
So just so we can put it out there, just to get, the pop from Psycho, who exactly was it that told you that, hey, you want
set the record straight?
We'll set the record straight. I don't know what behind the scenes shenanigans went on or did go on or whatever, but I know Psycho's the one that got my number, got me to buy some tickets, got me to come to a show, told me about the trainings, and went to my first training.
There you go.
Yeah, so it was awesome. I remember you getting into ref at FanX, and we let you ref a match, and it wasn't perfect, but you looked like you belonged in there. Like there was something special there. And
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. It was I knew it's like, okay, we need refs, we need talent, we need to get her to come.
We need women talent.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll get into that as far as like the women's like wrestling in Utah, but
for sure.
Yeah, it was. And then you came, and I remember I showed up to training, and you were already in there and everything. And of course, you know, when you're training at first, when you were training to be a referee, obviously you have to still learn how to bump and do all the wrestling things. What was that like, you first going to training that first day? Tell me about that.
Nerve-wracking. Completely fucking nerve-wracking. So I have found in the 2.5 years that I've been going is people come and go and try it out. When new faces show up, it's one of two faces. People who are super confident and really want to wrestle, whether or not they continue is up to them, or people who have no confidence in themselves and they see what we do up there and that's what they want. That second one was me, 100%, because it looked baller. I had all the components for wrestling, just not the wrestling. I'd been a film student, all that character work. I'd done acting classes. I did theater, so I was used to working in front of people and having people look at me. In fact, I prefer people audience rather than a camera. I never look at the camera when we tape our shows. I never look at it. I will look past the camera. I will look at our camera guys. I will not look at the camera. I don't like it. So I had all that. And then also as a teenager for 5 years when I was in junior high and high school, I did martial arts. So I like physical combat. I like sparring. I like, you know, I can take a little bit of a beating and be fine. And I enjoy it. So finding out that you could put the both together, fantastic. That was incredible. But that first day was hard. I don't even think I went in thinking I was going to be a wrestler. I don't even think I went in to be a referee. Like that first day, I was just trying it. You know, is this something I can even do? But I loved it. I remember my first day very well, and I remember my first body slam very well. And when I took my first body slam, that's when I knew I wanted to be a wrestler.
There's nothing else quite like it, huh?
No, there just isn't. I don't think so. I mean, unless you want to do like stunt work, but then you don't really get that interaction with like the crowd and the audience like that. Like it's not your face they're seeing. You're just doing the action part. Right. And so you don't get to do the acting part with it. But yeah, there's just nothing like it.
Right on.
So, so you started training. Obviously, you were reffing pretty quickly right away. Like they threw you kind of into things.
I think I had 6 weeks.
Yeah,
right.
It was pretty close. Like, because I came back after my sabbatical, I was taken away, and you were already training, but you hadn't started reffing shows yet.
Nope.
And yeah, like it was pretty quick. So we only had, I think, the one other ref who ended up becoming Dr. Tox at the time.
No, we didn't even have him there yet.
Oh, no, wasn't there yet?
No.
Well, Tox had just started. Tox had just started in December, but he hadn't started refereeing yet. I had my very first show was the QT Marshall show in October of 2021, and I think I started training about the week after. And I had up until the anniversary show in December, the 3 year. That's when I reffed my first show. And thank God for Dewey.
Yes.
Thank you, Dewey.
Yeah.
Dewey kind of took you under his wing and kind of showed you the ropes, right?
He helped me with that whole first show, which immediately got rid of like a bunch of bad habits that I was starting with. I'll never forget the monkey arms of my very first match. That's what he told me. And they look like monkey arms. Like I just look terrible, but it helped a lot.
Right on. Who was our main ref at the time?
Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. The gentleman, the paranormal.
Trace.
Oh,
Jack Trace.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was me, him, and Dewey for that show. And I think talks started either January or February. Like he was right after.
Okay.
Like for reffing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you basically became our head ref pretty quickly. So
yeah.
And I always felt like you added so much to the matches. Like
I tried.
It was different.
Yeah.
You know, because yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say it was we didn't have any hardly any females on the roster. We had Reina, or I mean not Reina, duh.
Rekka.
Yes.
Rekka. Yeah, no, I felt so dumb afterwards too. Like when I came up with my character name, I was like, it sounds way too close, but it just stuck. It stuck, and everyone used it, and it went over great. So I was like, okay, thank goodness.
Yeah, but that was pretty much it. Like it was. So it added a lot to our shows, I feel like, and I felt you were good at it. I was actually, before I move too far forward, like what were your big memories about referee? Any refereeing stories when you were reffing matches?
Well, when I took the backbreaker from Kat, that was fun. That was a great ref bump. I ended up getting a bunch of ref bumps, which I loved, which opened its own can of worms. And we can talk about, right. People trying to hit up female wrestlers in the DMs and female referees in the DMs. But as far as like major, like I had an awesome opportunity of refereeing a Tommy Dreamer match. Incredible. I had to help with that. Yeah, I think those were like the big ones, because I still really wanted to wrestle and I was working up to it. But I so enjoyed refereeing. And I really liked our bar shows, our bar fights when I would referee, because I had a little more leniency to kind of play with like a ref character that I felt like I had to be more stiff for like our house shows. Mm-hmm. So I remember liking like the opportunities that came with the house shows, but then the fun that came with the bar shows for refereeing. And so my the Tommy Dreamer match, the spot with Kat, those were fun moments. Those were really fun moments for me. And then, of course, switching from referee to wrestler and getting to do that switch in the ring with everybody was really fun.
Yeah, before we get to the transition to wrestler there, you touched on it and I can't just let it go. What you mentioned like getting, people in your DMs basically. Like
Yeah. So what would be appropriate? Would it be appropriate to shout it out, or the group? It's probably a person who messaged me, or should I just not name it?
Let's go with not naming it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But it was like essentially like it came off like a organization. It wasn't like a promotion, but it felt like a promotion, but they didn't promote. And they wanted to just book me some ref spots. And so being super green and then all of a sudden being hit up like that, I asked like pretty much everybody like what's appropriate to do. And I was glad that I did, because pretty much all the responses that I got was, why are people hitting you up for essentially clips of your ref bumps, if not to do something that you probably wouldn't like having be done with it. So I didn't end up doing any of those, but I got hit up several times from the same group, and it's been a long time since I've heard anything. I'm really glad.
Yeah. So I honestly didn't know that you wanted to be a wrestler for the longest time. Like, cause
I was back and forth for a while because I wasn't sure I could do it. Imposter syndrome, but I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I remember several talks, with you, and I know I was super sad when they were like, "Oh, she's going to stop wrestling or reffing, and she's going to be wrestling now." And I was like, "We don't have anybody good to replace her yet." I felt like the timing. My personal opinion, it was like, oh, it's like that's great that she wants to wrestle, but at the same time, I was like, we don't have somebody that like that's going to be a hit, because we don't have a good referee. Not saying a good referee, but like we didn't have somebody that could take that place.
Right, like we had Tox, and it ended up working out great because Tox ended up having to Iron Man a few, and he got a ton of experience, and so it was great for him, and I was glad. It came with pros and cons because I do feel like I was a good ref, so I could see how it was a loss, but I also can see like how much of a bonus it was also getting to like add a female wrestler to the roster.
Yeah, I remember talking with you, and I won't like talk about specifics because it was, in confidentiality and all that.
For sure.
But I remember you kind of being on the fence of like, I don't know, I don't know. I know they want me to be a wrestler, but I think there was that back and forth for a little bit.
There definitely was, and I definitely felt like I was starting to wrestle before I was ready. So that was like the other part of the hesitancy. But at the same time, I know how I was at the time, and I always thanked like to like people like privately, not like to them, but like people in my circle. I was like, oh, dude, what I appreciate so much about the coaches, even though they're hard asses and they piss me off sometimes, is that they push me when I need to get pushed. Like they know when to push me when I don't know how to push me, and that helped me so much because I probably. Well, I'm not going to say I probably was. The coaches knew that I was ready to start wrestling, but I certainly didn't believe I was ready to start wrestling. And so I'm glad I got the push that I got because I'm so like, I don't even look back. Like I still love refereeing. I'll ref a match like in training every once in a while just for shits and giggles because it's a blast. But I don't really look back and like miss reffing shows. It'd be fun. Like I would hate going back to it by losing the wrestling. But reffing itself, I still find extremely enjoyable.
Awesome. And do you remember your first match on a show?
My first wrestling match?
Yeah.
I believe as a referee.
Solo, I think, wasn't it?
Wait, what?
You're actual as a wrestler, right?
As a wrestler.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think it was you and Solo, if I remember right.
I believe, yeah, that's what I think. I think too. I think it was a tag match when we still had internet.
Mm-hmm. And I think your first singles was also against Solo as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Solo's really good about like, all right, leading you through it and making sure that he's got you.
He's great, and he always does that for the greenies, which I love. So, like, I think it was like my first several matches because I mean, even outside of the house shows, like the bar shows, Solo worked me several times.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate it, and probably for a bunch of reasons: building my confidence, making sure I'm ready, seeing if I can work with other people, all that stuff. So I loved it. It's great.
I think Andrew Sowell is almost like a gatekeeper as far as it's like, all right, let's put you in the ring with me, and I'll gauge like how ready you are.
Yeah.
So before he kind of lets you sink or swim.
Andrew's really good at not only just understanding where you're at in the ring and seeing how you are with matches and stuff and guiding you through it, but I've also noticed too, it started with you, but I've noticed it with other female trainees and stuff that we have because we're starting to get several now. He's very protective in it.
Oh, yeah.
And not in a creepy way, but like he's always wanting to make sure that like women always feel comfortable with it. And I think that's the thing with him having the first match with you, and subsequently he'll have the first match with a lot of the females because he can trust himself. And not that he can't trust the other workers, because none of us have ever done anything, I think, that would be feeling that, creepiness per se in a match. But it's a way that he knows for sure the only person he can blame if the woman feels like that is himself. And he would never do something like that. And it's such a hard thing, especially like as we've seen with like the whole WBE and everything else, and you've seen it as women have seen it across the wrestling world. It's always hard to keep that creep factor away, but Andrew's been so good about that.
No, he's the best about that. And like, so I think it's funny. I find Sowell now to be a bigger asshole than he used to be. And it's because I think he used to protect me and now we're like cool. And so he's like, nah, you're good. You can handle yourself now. I'm like, you an asshole. But no, I love that. And so I love that he does that for everybody or for all the girls. And I try to do that for the girls now too. Cause it, like, there's 100% creepiness, right? And then there are people who kind of don't mean to be creepy. And that can happen in wrestling because we just be honest, wrestling, I hate calling it this, but it's just kind of what it is. It tends to lean more towards low art rather than high art. And so the people who roll through wrestling come from all walks of life with all kinds of backgrounds and all kinds of personalities that don't always come off professional. And that's one of the things that I take to just fine. Because if we're just honest, and everyone should know this, it shouldn't be fucking news to anybody. Wrestling is very male dominated. It's kind of the dude sport. And that works for me because I've always been the girl that's had dude friends. I feel comfortable with dudes. I have no problem telling someone, don't say that, and brushing it off and being fine the next day. And feeling safe with people and just letting like things kind of roll. But I understand why other people don't and why it's still not appropriate. But I feel like I can kind of handle the environment so far with like what I've seen. Because I will say honestly, I haven't had like a super bad experience, and I am lucky with that. I just had little nitpicky things that maybe are a little sexist, maybe are a little creepy, but honestly, it's life. It's life, and I like wrestling as it is. I wouldn't necessarily want a ton of things to change. I like that it's hard and rough and brutal and pushes you. And I wouldn't want it to be any easier. I don't wrestling wouldn't be good if it was easier. It's good because it's hard and the bar is so high. So
very much agree. So
yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I was gonna say, with that being said, now that you've had several matches under your belt and everything else, what was one of your favorite matches outside of stuff working with me, of course?
Let's see. Some of my favorite matches that I've done.
Clearly, bar fights with me. No, just kidding.
The bar fights are always fun, but I wouldn't say I've had any of the bar fights be my favorite. No, lies. Okay. I got to win my first match I ever did, which was at bar fights against Sowell, and he was awesome. Surprise. I got to just surprise win and have a title, and that was fantastic. So that's always going to go down as one of my favorites. I really like, now that I'm planning more matches and I get to have some more say and direction, I like some of the matches that I plan and some of the spots. One of the matches that I did, and the spot was botched, which is fine. It wasn't fine. It wasn't good, but I liked the idea and I had so much fun in the match. And that was the triple threat that I did last November with Glade and Dan. And we had this great spot where, because Glade's a huge dude and I'm a smaller girl, but I do these headbutts, right? Headbutt. And then I think we double on it and we both fall back, but he's supposed to land on Dan. And the spot ended up getting botched, but I just remember having so much fun in that match. That one was really fun. And then as far as like even more recent, I liked the last match I did against Jack. And I also really liked the match I had before that against Panda. I've had some fun matches. Panda was fun because we had better ring chemistry than I thought we were going to, for not training even in the same state and having we'd worked one match together, which was a triple threat. And that did not really go super great, in my opinion. So I was a little worried, but when we were one-on-one, we just had really good chemistry and I really had fun and our promos were fun. It wasn't even like the match that was my favorite part. It was us getting to like build the tension before the match. And I don't get to do a ton of promo work. So now that I'm getting to do a little bit more and build up matches and stuff like that in that way, that's been a blast. That's been some of my favorite stuff.
Nice. And Panda was Kate Aber from RMP, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And so, yeah, just a really good matches that I've been having.
Yeah.
And at least, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, you've been having a lot of great matches over the last, 6-8 months that have been fantastic for a lot of stuff you've done. Botches, happen here and there, but your character work, your ability has been great. That match you had in December in that 4-way was fantastic.
That was so fun. That was so much fun. And like, we don't get to do a lot of like different things. I should have pointed that one out too. Because I don't, because well, it can get a little bit formulaic sometimes. And like getting to do, what would we call it? Waterfall finish. I had never done one of those before. That was so much fun.
Yeah, again, it got botched, but it's okay. It all worked out. We had also that fun spot with Parata coming off of the stair ladder, which was
That's
fun.
right. Yeah.
But yeah, we had a lot of good stuff in that match. That was entertaining. Crowd loved it. It was a great crowd because it was our anniversary show and stuff like that. But no, you've been doing really good work, and it's no surprise that you ended up with the Utah State television title. When I heard it was going to you, of course you took it from me. When I heard it was going to you, I had no qualms about it. I'm like, of course, it's the perfect person to go for because the crowd's loving you and everything else like that. But if you don't mind, I'd like to go a little bit else about that show that happened.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, is it this?
Yes. Yeah, a little bit of surprise that you had. So tell us a little bit about your history in the wrestling business with dating.
Okay, so very wisely, and a recommendation I agree with is that there should really not be a ton of dating in the locker room. It gets really complicated, creates a lot of drama, and it can make it a little tough to stay objective about certain things sometimes, because now you're dating somebody and now they have their own journey that they're taking through wrestling and their stories, and you have yours, and then you start talking, you start learning some stuff, and you're like, okay, well, you can't, like, don't make like a faction. Don't do that. And I can like see the temptation where that could kind of start to happen. And I would say we saw another couple kind of do that. But I just started loving wrestling so much. And when I started wrestling, I was seeing someone at the time that was supportive of my wrestling until I took it seriously. And then it wasn't really supported anymore. And that was hard for me. Because I was just working my ass off all the time. And it was a big transition for me in my life at that time, because I was just getting my shit together and figuring out what I wanted to do. Because if you've ever heard that, have you guys heard of that failure to launch in these younger generations? That was me. That was 100% me. I didn't do shit until I was 23. I did like a year and a half of college, and that was it. I was like totally not on my way to be like a productive member of society. I had some personal things, blah, 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 blah. And I start wrestling. And so it's like these 3 years. It's not 2 years, 2 really hard years. I start wrestling, life's getting harder, and then I lose my support. And it just kind of sucked. And then I just started really making friends in the locker room. I didn't have a ton of friends outside of wrestling. So that was the other thing. Now I'm making a bunch of friends. I'm getting to talk to people. My perspective on things is widening. My social circle is widening. My interactions with people are changing. And you start learning things about people. And you find that you have certain things in common with people. And then you start giving each other the side eye at every show. And you start making eye contact. And you start talking. And then someone slides into your DM. You start talking there. Can you hear the giggling in the other room? But no, I've heard the perspectives that for some people it's really hard to do this with someone that you care about. You're watching them go out and get hurt. They're watching you go out and get hurt. You're with each other all the time, training, working in the ring, traveling, doing the shows, going to the gym, this and that. And that's hard. But I'm on the other side where it can be so hard that doing it with somebody makes it easier. It's easier to go knowing that you guys have the same goals, that you guys want the same thing, support each other in the same thing. And while still trying to avoid making like a faction, it is nice to know that in the locker room, you do have someone who is definitely your teammate. Because I know not every locker room is like our locker room. Our locker room is definitely special. We have a really good locker room. We have drama like every other industry locker room, whatever. There's always some stuff because we're together all the time. I feel like everyone in our locker room says, I don't have no friends outside of wrestling. Yeah, because with what time are you going to go out and make friends and hang out with people? We have a show to do. So, yeah, no, I love it. I have found somebody really fantastic. And so kept it on the DL for a long time. I will say they are a coach. And I have a big thing. I have a big pride thing. Like, I am not going to be given what I haven't earned. I don't like it. I really don't. It's the other thing I like about our locker room, that while the girls are protected, we don't get really special treatment. You are going to bump. You're going to run your reps. You're going to do every exercise that all the other guys are doing. And it doesn't matter if you're getting tired, you need to be training, because you're not going to go out there and make a fool out of yourself and get hurt. There's not a bunch of other girls that we can go out and wrestle. I'm going to be wrestling the guys. I need to be ready and prepared for that, 100%. So I love all that. So we kept it on the hush hush for about 6 months, and just to make sure, because we both still wanted to train, and we both had conversations. Let's try it out and make sure this is going to be something, because I'm not going to leave wrestling if this doesn't work out, and I'm not going to ask you to either. And it was great. It was just fantastic. And every show, and just having that support. And next thing you know, got a house together, moved in, got a dog, and which leads into December. And I know he was keeping a secret. And day of, he goes and sneaks off with Sowell, and they're talking about something. Oh, I asked, what are you going over there to talk to Sowell about? None of your business. Oh, really? Really? All of a sudden, it's none of my business. All right. Don't ask questions. Trust me. All right. I knew something. Y'all aren't that good at hiding secrets, But it was chalked up as a spot where I won a title at that show. Josh won a title at that show. And it was coming out like it was going to be almost like a challenge or a rivalry. You change your outfit, you change your hair. But there's one more thing you got to change, and that's your last name. Oh, you sons of bitches. Do this in front of everybody. I turn around, his whole family with a huge banner. Okay, I see how we're playing. No, it was fantastic. It was actually really, really, really cool. And my mom was there, and I had friends that were there. My sister was there. I didn't know. I invited people. I was selling tickets to a show, man.
Did they know?
His family knew. I don't think anyone of my side knew. I don't think anybody knew.
I'm really close with both of you, and he didn't tell me shit either. So
I feel like when I went back that day, a ton of people knew. And now that I go back and I'm like, everybody knew. Now all of a sudden, I didn't know. I was okay, you know what? I feel like a lot of people knew, but I think a lot of people didn't know too.
So far, as I understand it, because I talked with them after, I'm like, how didn't you tell me, of all people, right? And the only other people that knew was Manny and Sowell, of course. And then Fox knew, because if you would have said no, Fox was the saving grace to come out of the plan B to do it.
Yep.
Spot.
and then the ref knew, so Jeremy knew as well.
Yeah, he knew because I think he had the ring, if I remember right.
Yep. Yeah, it was in the case. Jeremy, he had to make sure it was ready. Kaylee said she figured it out, but I don't know.
No, she didn't, because I had to tell her to play the music. I happened to be out there helping to fix a music spot at the time, so I was actually outside by the ring when you guys were there and everything else like that. It was so good.
It was so good.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because like you two's relationship ended up causing a bit better like closeness with you and me, I think.
Yeah.
Because me and Josh become really good friends over like the last year and a half or so, and then but you and I, like, it's not that we didn't like each other, we didn't have like common ground to talk with and stuff like that.
Right.
And then I remember we were going to do the Rock Spring show, and I don't think at the time that anybody. Yeah.
I have to interrupt. I'm so sorry. My phone is gonna die, so I have to get a charger. But I'm taking y'all with me. But y'all aren't gonna see my house. So.
But I don't think anybody knew that you two were together at this point, or very few people known that you guys were together. And the three of us went in the same car together to drive up to Rock Springs. And I remember chilling in the car, and then suddenly I'm in the back seat, and I look over and I see Josh has got his hand on your lap. And I'm like, wait a second. And I asked you guys straight. I'm like, so when did this all start? And you guys told me like 6 months beforehand and everything else. And I'll tell you the same thing, or I'll tell everyone the same thing I told you guys that day, right, as soon as I found out about you guys. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, I tell people to never get in a relationship in the business, as you mentioned earlier. It's almost rarely ever turns out well. I've dated people in the past in the business and things like that, and it's just never worked out well for me. That's psycho. As of a lot of people I've known, it just doesn't work out, right? We also had for a while, it was a written rule, but it became an unwritten rule about dating in our locker room due to a couple who had dated and caused some drama. And when I saw you two together and we talked about it on that drive, I told you guys exactly that. Like, no, normally I tell people never to get in the thing. But you two not only were adults, unlike most wrestlers, but you guys seem to fit so perfectly together. And it was one of those things, as soon as I recognized that you two were together, it's like, duh, why?
Like, that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally did. And stuff like that. So it's like, oh my God, you guys are perfect for each other. And I couldn't be happier for you two. And to this day, I still can't be. Like, I love the shit out of both of you. And you two are two of my favorite people in the locker room to go and BS with and hang out with and stuff like this, because you guys are just fun to be with. And you guys are so perfect for each other. I was so happy. Like, I tell you straight, like, you two are perfect. I would never say you two should not have been together, because you guys are. You guys are a perfect example of what could be a good relationship in the business, because you guys prop each other up, but don't bullshit each other.
Correct.
Yeah, and I haven't been around for a bit and stuff, but you guys are two of my favorite people from wrestling.
Aww.
So yeah, I was very happy when I heard that. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Thank you, you guys. I appreciate that. It was nerve-wracking kind of coming out to everybody about it, because everybody had known about my past relationship and stuff too. And dating a coach, I know how that looks. So it was just really important to me that I just kept earning it on my own. You know, a lot of other people, I think this is a fair assumption to say, might start dating a coach and think it's a reason that they can start slipping on their shit and not taking it as seriously as they were. And I did the exact opposite. I really took it as like a challenge to like step up, because I didn't want that. I wanted it to be like, oh, well, if you're going to date a coach, then the bar is higher for you. So that was a big thing for me. But on top of that, to to agree with you, Psycho. I think you said it, Psycho. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. But we have so much shit in common. We have so much shit in common, just even outside of wrestling, like things that we've been through life, interests outside of wrestling. There's just so much that lines up. And one of the big things for the both of us is that having some past experiences that were unpleasant, we just don't want that going forward. We don't want drama. We don't want like bitterness, jealousy, negativity, all of that shit. Like all of like the classic problems that like you're hearing about relationships today and dating and all that shit. Like we've been through it and we're just not interested. Like we're not interested in playing anymore. You know what I mean? So that was really, really nice. And because we're both so passionate about wrestling, I think that's a big, big reason why it works. And I'm glad you guys are supportive of it. Most of the locker room was. Most. Most. In fact, there was one person when I came back with the ring who was unhappy.
Well, we don't need to call any names. Yeah.
Yes.
Nope. I'm not going to. I will say it was a lady. So, yeah, someone wasn't happy. Someone was a little upset that they maybe missed their shot. So, oh well.
I was upset. I missed my shot. I mean, Josh was a fucking beautiful man.
You're still trying to steal my man. What are you fucking talking about? I have to work every day to keep him from you.
Yeah, it's accurate because he wants me to. I know. But
no, because when you kissed, he just loved it, didn't he?
He did. On that note too, that was the same week that he asked me to propose to you. You remember?
Was that the show right before?
That was the bar fight. Yeah, and it was like that same week. Because it was that same week that I kissed him in a bar fight spot, which was great.
It was great. He gagged. He wanted to vomit.
See, that's when he knew there was nobody else, you know?
That's right.
It took Mike.
Yes.
Yep. And then we had our match on that Saturday for the 5th anniversary show. And I made a joke that it was the most awkward threesome because in that match, we had a spot where I was supposed to rush in to take a head scissors from you. And the spot got messed up a little bit. So instead of getting like your legs around my or up on my shoulders, I ended up with your whole butt right in my face, right? And everything else. And then did the spot. So we made the joke when we went back right after that it was the most awkward threesome I've had in a long time. And then he asked you to marry him. And I came back after the proposal, like, all right, now actually it probably just became the best threesome of my life.
There you go. I'm happy to be a part of it, Mike. I'm happy.
Well, again, I love both of you guys. I'm so happy for you both.
Thank you.
You guys couldn't have found better people to be with.
I certainly think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. And there's a reason why you two are some of my best friends in the locker room right now. And why I've asked you guys to join us on these podcasts and things like that. Because I love you guys. I love our interactions.
Thank you. I do too.
That being said, do you remember our first interaction?
You tell it all the time. I had forgotten about it, but you tell me and I'm like, oh, I absolutely said that. I 100% said that.
So I'm really bad with names. And it's never fails when I meet somebody new. Like I'll forget their name a ton. And so I have a general rule in my head to not be a dick, be like, oh, sorry, I forgot your name again. What was it? To be like, oh, I'm just going to play it off for a minute and be like, hey, if you're a guy, it's usually like, hey, dude, or boss, or something like that, right? Can you do this? And for girls, it's always been, hey, sweetie, can you do this? And it comes off a little bit sexist, and I know at the times it's harder to do with that stuff, but it's just how I was ingrained with it. Like, sweetie was also what my grandfather called people he didn't remember. So that's always just been the thing it's been for me, right? And I remember I was saying something to you about something about getting the ring set up, right? And I said, hey, sweetie, can you do this? Because I could not remember your name. Not that your name's hard to remember. It's hard to remember how to say it, right? But But I said that, and you threw me the dirtiest freaking look, and you're like, "I'm not your sweetie," and I'm like, "It's not what I meant. I'm so sorry."
You're just trying to be nice over here, like getting offended. Hey, yeah, 100%, 100%. I did that, and I don't know, like customer service voice, like that kind of thing. I'll keep it together and not say anything. And like I call people honey on the phone, so I don't know why like I didn't like associate it, but I think it was like so like in my head of like I don't know, making sure that I was like I don't know. This is gonna sound so dumb. Making sure I was like getting like respected and not being like condescended to, because like I didn't know you at the time. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I was a dick about it. I 100% said that. I probably, if I didn't know somebody, I probably still would. Even I would try to hopefully be cool about it, but I think my automatic like it would just hit me, and I'd be like, don't do that. Call me a dude. I'm a dude. I'm a brother. Like Pablo all the time calls me sir. Like yes sir, yes brother. I'm like thank you Pablo. I'm glad you don't see gender.
Okay. With that being said, now knowing you for 3 years and everything else like that, you are ostensibly a completely different person. And it's something I've always wrestling too, because that worked for me as well. When you start becoming a wrestler and getting that identity of being a wrestler, you become a lot more confident in your life and confident in who you are, especially when you're younger. Because you started when you were 23, right? 22, 23?
I would have been 24.
24. So at that time, we don't know shit, right? Like we don't know who we are, what we really want to do in our lives. I didn't even start going to college until I was 25.
I had no idea what I wanted to do. The reason when Psycho approached me at FanX and invited me to do all the things, I just want to say that the timing was perfect because I was looking for life to tell me what I was supposed to do. I had no fucking idea what I was supposed to do. I was going to college for film at the time, and it was good enough, but it wasn't my calling. I still love it. I still do photography and film on the side, but wrestling was my calling. And I said, whatever life is going to give me the opportunity to do, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. So Psycho's like, you want to come to a show? Fuck it. Yeah, let's do it. Life threw it at me. Let's do it. You want to come to training? Sure, Life. Let's do it. Let's give training a shot. It was just the right timing. It's exactly what I was looking for. But continue.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, Josh has still not sent me a thank you. So
I'll let him know. You'll get your message tonight.
But with that being said, like it builds your confidence, right? Like, and people do a lot of things. Like when I was younger, for me, a lot of my confidence building was in martial arts. I'm sure it was the same for you. But there's something to be said about when you become a wrestler and being able to get on in the ring or on stage, as it would be, and being able to have that persona, that character that you can pull to be able to do a thing. And I talk about it all the time. Like when I first started wrestling, before I started wrestling, I was super quiet and very like not a social person whatsoever. So almost to the level of antisocial.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Do you remember I used to hide around the corner?
Yep.
Yeah. I used to fucking hide. I would hide before an exercise at training because I did not want to get fucking called.
Yeah. It's just such an interesting thing because then you start taking that persona that you're creating for the ring, and it's really coming a part of you, right?
Yes.
I say it all the time that Mike is who I am, and is a core person of me now. And a lot of times when I react to things, I'm not reacting to it as Brian, especially Brian from high school, would have. I'm reacting to it as Mike has or would. I become a lot more confrontational than I ever was when I was younger and stuff like that. And if anybody that knows me, I'm a social person now. Like I am a huge flirt. I socialize with everybody.
You don't say.
Yeah, right? But people don't know, like when I tell people I was quiet in high school and like stuff like that in junior high, they don't believe me that I was that way because I'm completely different than I was. Like I had a friend of mine who I still talk with. Her nickname for me has been Mouse because I was quiet as a mouse in school. And if you know me now, it's hard to believe that.
Hey, I have same thing with me. So
yeah. And Psycho was there from day one, so he can at least kind of attest how quiet I used to be.
Yeah, I remember we did there was like a get together and like everybody was like drinking or something like that, and you would not drink at all.
No.
So you're just like, nope, I don't know everybody well enough. I'm not going to put myself out there like that. So.
And now you won't shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Exactly. In fact, most of the time, if someone comes up behind somebody and like gives them a hug or like tickles them from behind, 9 times out of 10 people assume it's me, and 9 times out of 10 of that, it probably is me, because that's just who I am. That being said,
I want to touch on a couple of things. Because we haven't touched on it yet. What was it like when you went backstage for WWE the first time?
Crazy.
We'll get to the second time, but
intimidating, crazy, overwhelming, nerve-wracking. Because again, like I'm green as goo shit. You know what I mean? I was one of those people who was raised on wrestling is fake. And having done martial arts, I was like, oh, especially being an arrogant teenager and young adult, I'm like, I know what real fighting looks like. This shit is so fake. They're not even really hitting each other. This doesn't make any sense. Doesn't look like a real fight. Jesus. But, yeah, no. Even when I got into wrestling, I was AEW. So then going backstage to WWE, I'm like, okay, do I have all the faces down? Do I know everybody's name? Do I have all the information? Am I gonna fuck it up? I still did, obviously. That's why I love my boy Andy, because I still went back there and fucked it up.
I remember right before you went to backstage for that first time, you came to me and was like, all right, who do I need to know? Who are the names that I need to know?
Yes. Absolutely. Because I knew I was gonna fuck that up. And I did. I did the first time and I did the second time. I actually think the Andy story is from the second time. But I know the first time I also said something really fucking stupid. I just don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I remember you had told me, that Triple H came up to you and basically, shook your hand or something, and that was kind of real.
Yeah, I was walking with somebody else and Triple H walked by, shook their hand. He did not stick his hand out to me, but he shook the first hand. Well, there's rules, you know what I mean? Like you can't be like approaching people and stuff, especially Triple H. Like it's on like your instructions. So I was really big on that, but he shook the first hand and it was just the two of us. So I just went, I'm doing it. He shook the first hand. He'll shake one more hand. He'll do it. So stuck my hand out, just did a little shake and walked on. And I was like buzzing. I'm just like, because Triple H is one of the few wrestlers that I was familiar with, like for sure. I did not recognize Triple H. So thank God for that one. No, Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and I like those guys. This is actually really cool. I don't tell a ton of people this. I want to work it into a promo or a storyline at some point. But despite never really having wrestling in my background until the last couple of years, I feel like I was destined to still wrestle. Do you know when I was born? Do you guys know my birthday by chance?
I feel like I should, but I don't.
I wish I did.
Okay. I'm just going to tell it because it's part of the whole story. So it's fine. You'll find me on my fucking birthday. I don't care. 5/19, May 19th, 1996. Do you know what historical wrestling moment happened on that day?
Is that what? Okay.
Come on.
Was that...
All people used to get it.
Wait, you said... Okay, so May...
96. May of 96. WWE.
It wasn't the curtain call. That happened in June.
No, it was the curtain call.
It was the curtain call? Oh,
curtain call happened.
Okay.
Curtain call happened May 19th. As far as I watch, now everyone will Google it and it won't be that. But I swear to God, when I Googled it, curtain call's May 19th, 1996, the day I was born.
Brian's on it.
Yep.
Please confirm for me. I believe I'm right. I Googled it once a while ago. And
I could have sworn it was June, but I could be wrong.
I see, and that's like because I don't know my wrestling stuff, but I feel like I know that.
You know what? It couldn't have been June because Scott Hall debuted in WCW and came down the aisle on Memorial Day, so it couldn't have been June. So you're right. You're right.
Yep, Brian's gonna confirm,
now that I think about it, yeah, you're right.
Come on, I'm just making sure. Proceed. I'll find the date.
Okay.
But okay, yeah, so I was born on the curtain call. That's literally when I was born. I was meant to do this.
So how did you? Okay, so how did you know about the curtain call? Because obviously that's some insides.
Yeah. So are you guys familiar with the YouTuber Super Eye Patch Wolf? Big wrestling fan, big pro wrestling fan. Okay. He does these big deep dives on kind of more niche or what could be considered niche kind of topics or shows or things like that. But he's a big wrestling fan. And so he did 3 wrestling videos. He did one on I think just in general kayfabe and wrestling. He did one just on The Undertaker, and he did one about being a heel. And so I watched the one about just the kayfabe, and it covered the curtain call. And so I just looked more into it. Like I was just interested in the event and everything that like Triple H had to go through, and ended up finding out it was my freaking birthday.
That's
and
awesome.
It is 1996.
That is awesome. Do you know, little side note, do you know that Shawn Michaels trained the guy that trained me?
I did not.
No. Yep. So there's my tie there. So
hell yeah.
I wasn't like born on a day like that, but yeah. So,
I know, it's kind of crazy.
Yes. Awesome. So after that first time, like what were your big like takeaways from being backstage the first time? Like thoughts,
the level of the level of professionalism. Like we do this for fun. We get really comfortable, and we get comfortable with like our trainings. We get comfortable like making mistakes because I mean, I started wrestling, I want to say within about 6-7 months of my starting training. So I was still pretty green. I'm still green. What am I talking about? I'm still green. I still make mistakes in every match. Everybody probably still makes a mistake in every match if they're really critical of themselves. So, but we get comfortable making mistakes because we put people out there so they can get the reps. We all know that the only way you get better is by getting the reps. You don't get the reps without making mistakes. So you just get a little comfortable with that kind of dynamic. It's still training. It's still kind of a hobby, but when you're there, and these are what they do, like this is their job and this is bringing home the money, it changes things. And when you come back and you start doing the out of state shows, you're like, no, when I travel, when I go to these shows, this is a job. We are working. That's what we're doing. And you see a lot of people not take it as seriously. You see some of the shenanigans that kind of happen in locker rooms that I feel like you don't really see happen in ours, or at least we really try to keep them minimal, which I like, because that level of professionalism is just insane, and the effort that they go through. The other thing that I really loved is getting to see them work a little bit before the show. And like, oh, they're still training. They're still out there. They're working the spots that they know that they want to work. And just getting to watch them put the show together the way that like we put shows together. It's awesome. It's the same thing. And you see it and it's like, it's just a good feeling.
It's good preparation, it's because they're doing the same things. It's just on a bigger level.
Yes.
It also has validation to what we're doing, to be able to like, oh, they're doing the exact same thing we are, just on like on a bigger scale. Right. So it adds that validation to be like, I feel like I'm on the right path.
Yes, 100%. And then of course getting to meet the other extras, because I mean, not all extra talent is local. It's also a great way to network. Everyone who's getting extra talent work, whether it be WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, NXT, anything like that, anything that you can get on, like that, it's a really good networking opportunity, because the odds are that you're working with people who are, or you're networking with people who are maybe a little bit more above the cut in the indies. You start getting to network with those people rather than just networking with everybody, which is great, and you should do that. But it is good to know. It's very easy to see like who's kicking ass in the indies, because there's not like a ton. And as soon as like a name is killing it, like people are talking. But then you have all the people who are training and working, getting up to that, and to see where all of like the contenders are. Does that make sense? It's very helpful. And getting to see like the bar that other people are raising from where they're coming from, be it Vegas, East Coast, Canada, like Sage. Those fantastic, which was an extra work, but still like getting to work with people who are traveling so far and probably train the same that we do, but also probably train differently than we do, and what elevates them, and what little things are they learning that I can pick up real quick working a match with them, like things like that, just things like that. And so the extra work back there is still the same, like all that networking and getting to see where people are coming from. And yeah.
So now you were backstage again at WWE. What was different the second time?
I wasn't as nervous. I'm naturally nervous, so I'm like always at least a little nervous. But I felt way more prepared and knowing what I was going to do. And so that was really helpful. I would say I was getting to go backstage the first time. I was like, whatever happens, happens. But then the second time, I really wanted, I was hungry. I was hungry when I went the second time. That was, I think, was a big difference. And so the third time was obviously the fucking awesome best. But
yeah, so tell us about that.
She was so hungry that on the third time, somebody forgot her shirt.
Okay, an extra email went out the night before, and of course I didn't think about checking my email the night before. My bad, completely on me, totally my mess up. Did Josh save the day? Yes, he did. Thanks, Bay. Because without him, I definitely wouldn't have gotten the opportunity that I got. And it was just a little baby thing. It's just a little carrying some food in from one room to the other, but getting to see the back of my head on an episode of SmackDown that the Rock was on. Oh, dude, fucking made the year, man. Like, and that was in February, and it already made the year. Like, I'm already, that's peak, which sucks that my peak for the year was in February. It only goes down from here. No.
I'm not sure about that.
I know, I'm hoping not. I'm going to keep trying.
I was so happy. Like we were watching it at home, and I was super ready to record it for when you came on for your episodes. I'm like, I need to get this for her so she can have it and stuff like that. I was super happy for you, dude.
Thank you.
How far in advance did you know about that they were using you for that?
An hour and a half. And the thing too is that they pulled 4 of us aside, and then they only ended up using the girls. So only me and the other girl ended up going, because the other 2 were dudes, and I don't know, just ended up working out that way. And so she and the 2 dudes got picked first, and I was bummed. I had to go take a moment in the bathroom because I was like, fuck, third strike, you're out, bitch. No. But I was even hungrier the third time. And then I got pulled aside, and they're like, they need an extra girl. And I was like, I was like Super Saiyan mode, dude. and then it was fun because they wanted us to hold these trays of food, and then we also had to open the door for the scene too. And I guess no one that was doing it had any like wait service experience, because no one knew how to hold 2 plates with one hand, and they're like talking, what are we gonna do, and I put 2 plates in my hand, and I'm like, we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna open the door, and they're like, oh, like, it's serving 101. You hold 2 plates with one hand. It's not okay. It's cool. It's my moment. I'm gonna take it. I saved the day. I'll take it.
Yeah. And on that scene too, because you get a side of your face of it and everything else, it was a great spot for you too, because you get a little more screen time with it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It was fun. And I was shocked people actually like recognized that I was on there. Like I was actually really surprised. I was like, oh, cool. I kind of was watching and they saw me. Yeah, I feel special.
My girls are so happy when they saw you on there. Like they were losing their minds. Like, oh, it's Reina.
Aww.
So awesome. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you, you guys. Trust me, when I started, I didn't think I would be taking it so seriously and still be in it and going this long. And I just love everybody. I love our locker room. It's really just a supportive thing, and I'm happy with the progress I've made so far. Of course, I want to be a superstar and I want to be a prodigy and amazing in 6 months, don't we all? But I'm happy with how far I've come.
In 2 years, you've done a lot.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, no, thank you, you guys. And honestly, I really credit it to our school and the training, because I know we're lucky, and that's why we do our out-of-state shows. It's good to see everything that's out there, but it's also good to recognize the quality that we have, because we do. Not that other people don't, but you know what I'm saying.
There's a bar, though, like
there is
a level of people who do shows and train, and you can see the difference when you do these shows. And they're, I wouldn't even say a bar, like tiers, right? So if you go to something like FSW in Vegas, they're like top tier, or like 3D in Florida, they're top tier. And then next down would be like, I would just say like barely next down. But next down would be something like us or RMP in Colorado or High Spots in North Carolina. Like there's these next level down ones that just don't have the funding that like FSW has or 3D does or Kennedy's School in Wisconsin. They have a lot more funding because they have these big names behind them to fund them. We are the National Wrestling Academy of Utah, as well as RMP's Wrestling Academy in Colorado. But we don't get the same funding that they do, but our trainings are just as good, just as difficult. But then you get to these tiers down, and they're less than we are. Not saying that they're bad per se, but they're less. You don't get the same level of quality and experience that you do with it. So
it's not about talking shit. It's just that everywhere is different, and some places are going to be a little more this than this, and that's what's good about traveling. That's what's good about going around to places and getting to experience like all the differences. And so again, not talking shit. I'm only 2 years in. I'm still green as goose shit. Am I happy with where I've come? Yes. Do I think I'm doing really well? Yes. Do I have a fuck ton of a way to go? Hell yeah. But I know that I have accomplished a lot in 2 years that other people took longer to do. And so I'm very appreciative. I love our training. I love Aswa. I do. I love our coaches, even when they make me mad.
You're welcome.
It's like you knew I was talking about you.
Well, that's the great thing is like you mentioned earlier with Josh and so well, and even myself when I'm helping out, everyone gets treated the same way. It doesn't matter who you are. Male, female, like to people who just come to the school, we might be a little more kid gloves on, but it's really because
it's more like being reserved. It's just like, we're going to just let you taste it first and then we're going to jump in. I get it.
Yeah. But we also want to push people, right? So once you start getting your feet wet with this and you get an understanding of how we are, you're going to get your feet wet. And we talked about this training this week, yesterday, in fact, as we record this. You and I have a interesting way we work with each other when it comes to this. We get, I'm not going to say aggressive or even like pissy with each other, but we get very straight.
You and I will enter conflict with no problem, but also with zero anger.
Yeah.
Like, you will tell me I'm wrong and I will tell you, no, you're not. Or no,
Yeah.
I'm not. You are wrong.
Yeah. We very much gained a sibling or like relationship, as it feels like with you and I.
Oh yeah.
And you're definitely like a little sister to me, which is great.
Aw, thanks. I love irritating you.
You do a great job at it.
Thank you. I try.
Well, with that being said, we're going a little long in this episode, so I would like to have you on again at some point, a little farther down the road, to get your opinions on, again, with female wrestling stuff, but see how your journey's gone as well.
Hell yeah.
With this stuff. And to be honest, and I talked with Josh about this already a little bit, but recently I've seen this, and I know Josh has seen this. I want to see you in a year or so, assuming you're still working with Devotion, you haven't moved up from us, to start doing more of the direct training yourself and becoming more of a coach level, because I see you having that ability. You and I did this not too long ago, where Josh was recording something for a documentary, and you and I hopped in the ring to help somebody out with something, and I let you take the reins. And it's because I think you're at that level now to start getting those reps in training, and you're doing very well at it. So I want to see you keep doing that.
I like doing it. I've always liked teaching. Like even in school, like I would tutor other kids. I was a smart kid. I love teaching. I feel like I have a good way of explaining things in like a multiple different ways and multiple different varieties of ways so that people can like understand. So I like it. I recognize I don't have a lot I can teach because I don't know a lot, but I like helping with the training for greenies, rolls, bumps, rope runs. Oh yeah, I could teach those things. And Wednesday was actually really cool. It was after you left for training. A few of us stayed behind and just ran some open ring stuff. And Kaylee's in and outs, I helped her, and they look good now when she's not tired. we did it, probably had her do like 25 in and outs, and she got some really pretty ones, but by the end she was freaking exhausted. But I was feeling really good. That Wednesday made me feel really happy. I'm like, yes. But I want a coach, and I'm dating a coach, and as green as I am, I'm the vet female wrestler. But I take all of those things really seriously. And now we have a new girl who says she's a fan of mine and she wants to train because she's seeing what I'm doing out there and it's inspiring her. I'm like, what the fuck is that? What do I do with that level of like admiration? I don't even know. Like, I ain't that cool. I go out there and I'm freaking out half the time. And you think I'm cool as shit. Well, that's a big responsibility and a big thing to kind of like, what am I looking for? What's the word? I've totally lost the word. To kind of like measure up to. Mm-hmm. But I like it. I feel like every time something happens, I date Josh, I got to step up. A new girl comes in, I got to step up. I'm the vet girl now, I got to step up. But I like it. I hate it, but I love it.
I feel that. And we do need more, not just female wrestlers, but people in vets who are willing to step up like that. And I'm so happy to see that you're doing that and taking on that role for a lot of the females. And I am happy to say we are finally getting female trainees who are staying.
I know. I'm so excited.
I would love for DCW to have a legit women's division.
Oh my God, it would be incredible. Dude, we have 3 right now. We're up to 3 right now. But the last time we were up to 3, we lost 2. And it was still just me. And I was so bummed last summer and fall. Because we had 3 girls and we went back down to 1.
Yep. Just have to recruit more than leave. So.
Yep.
To be fair, though, I see the current 3 that we have, not including yourself. I can see them staying. Like the newest one,
it's still really soon to tell.
Yeah, she's only been doing it for a couple of weeks, but like the training we did yesterday with the burpees and the lunges, she put her heart into it, and
yeah, she did. She
and
finished it.
She did, even though she almost got run over.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay. But she was doing great, and Kaylee had a lot of confidence in. I mean, she's family, but I still have a lot of confidence in.
I wasn't sure if Kaylee was going to make it at the start because she was so nervous. But she was like me when I started, and it goes one of two ways. You either let the anxiety win and you don't come back, and I've seen a lot of dudes do that, and a lot of people that come in and they let the anxiety win because it's a lot. It's a lot what we do. But Kaylee has really risen to the occasion. And even in the 6-7 months she's been here, she's already changing into a different person. I'm not even family and I can tell. So I'm sure you must be seeing like a huge ass difference.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's been doing great. She was a similar thing like me. When I first met her, when she started dating my wife's cousin 3 years ago, she was super quiet. Like I had to pull information out of her by asking her questions to get anything out of her. Like I didn't even get her name the first time I met her because she didn't talk. But
just call her sweetie.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. No, that's been a big thing, the introductions, but she's been kicking ass at those too.
Yeah, she's been doing really good and getting that confidence in herself. Like the practice match you guys had yesterday, a little bit we did with the spots. She got a lot of confidence in herself, what she can do, and then work the character. She's starting to get it, and I'm so happy for her. And then Whitney as well. She's getting along well with everything. I'd like to see her come more often than 1 day a week, but she's starting to get it.
Well, she's coming too. She comes Tuesdays, and then she's been starting to show up on Wednesdays. But yeah, I don't think she was here this last one.
She wasn't here the last few Wednesdays. I only ever seen her on Thursdays. I saw she was in a picture on Tuesday recently.
Yeah, she does. She does all the Tuesday one. Oh, it wasn't Wednesdays. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays because she was doing Thursdays, and I wanted her to come do one with me, and so she said she'd come an extra day. So it's Tuesdays. That's right.
Yeah. But I'm glad to see she's starting to come more often. And that being said, like any ladies that are listening on here, like come to the trainings and join us with Zan there as well as the other females there. There's always opportunity for everybody, men, women, anything between. Like always opportunity for you to learn and to train just something you guys wanted to do, or even something you guys wanted to try. Like Zan mentioned, she didn't want to do this initially; she just wanted to try it.
I couldn't recommend it more. If I could have one, and it's so fucking corny, I'm gonna say it anyway. If I could have one message to tell people in this one podcast, my biggest fucking takeaway from everything I've said, wrestling is for everybody. Everybody can try it. Not everybody will do it, and that's fine. But with all these preconceived notions about wrestling, if you've never tried it, you have no idea. You have no idea. You think you know what wrestling is, and you don't. You just don't. And that's okay. Honestly, it's better that way because you're going to come into it and you're going to have such a bigger appreciation for it. And it's not just about the wrestling. It isn't, because we've been talking about how much we've all been changing. And I don't know that it's a function of everybody who trains or every coach or every locker room, but I know how it works in our locker room because I've seen it happen to every person who stays and keeps training. It makes you a better version of yourself. If you are currently unhappy with where you're at in your life, with your relationships, with your job, with your hobbies, if you're lacking direction, if you don't know what you're doing, if you're in the same boat and problem as Gen Z and the millennials, and we don't know what the fuck we're doing, just try this. Try it. Just try it, because this world is crazy and everyone thinks they know everything about everything. And you just don't know until you're getting out there. And it's so worth it to just try this. Just try it. It's fun. It's so much fun. I really hope you don't try it with a locker room that sucks and you get bullied or people hit on you or you get creeped out. I really hope that doesn't fucking happen. Come to Osceola, Salt Lake City, Utah. We train here 3 days a week. It's a great locker room. You'll see a difference in yourself. Give yourself the opportunity to challenge yourself. What we do is hard, and even if you don't want to stay as a wrestler, so much of what you learn outside of the technique of wrestling, you will take with you in your life, and you'll be so glad that you did.
I totally agree.
Mic drop.
Right. That's 100% truthful. Every aspect of that. And even if you're not able to make it to Salt Lake, reach out to us through our social media. You can reach out to me directly if you need to. There are plenty of schools I can vouch for that we're going to have great schools and great teachers and stuff like that, that I would feel safe, that if you don't feel like you could go into a locker room and feel safe, I could tell you that these locker rooms could be safe for you.
Yes.
The East Coast, if you're in the Colorado area, there's ones in Texas I know of, Wisconsin, of course. There's plenty of ones I know of, people I can recommend to you to reach out to and talk to. Please reach out to us on our social medias. I'll give you that in a minute, to be able to find a place for you to train. But this will give you an opportunity to do something special with your life that not a lot of people can do.
Yep.
And
if you never want to get in the ring again, that's fine, but everyone should try getting in the ring once, because there's nothing like it. Even if you don't like it, even if it's not for you, you won't regret the experience, I'll tell you that.
That's right. So, all right, with that being said, guys, I think we're going to wrap up for tonight. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. It's been very fun for me. So if you guys have any questions or do want to reach out to us about any of these questions of places to start training or anything like that, reach out to us on our social media. So that'll be Be Hero Media at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter/X and soon to be TikTok. You can also reach out to me directly on Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok at Mike Burke DCW or Mike Burke Pro on Twitter/X. You can also reach out to Psycho at Psycho Wrestling on the Facebooks. And where can they find you, Zan?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Reina_king.of.dragons.
Awesome. And where else can you talk about really quick about how to find us both for training at ASWA, Arsenal Wrestling Academy of Utah. And I'll give you that social in a second. But I wanted to let you guys know about some of the shows coming up for Devotion Championship Wrestling. So our next show is just a little over a week away, and that is going to be April 5th. The Friday before WrestleMania here in Salt Lake City. It'll be payment due. I'm super excited. It's going to be a great show. Everyone's going to already be hyped for WrestleMania weekend. So come to the shows. Tickets are already going like crazy. I think we're near sold out already as it is. So reach out to us to get those tickets. You can either reach out to our social medias directly, or you can reach out to Devotion Championship Wrestling on Facebook or Instagram, at Devotion Wrestling on TikTok, and you can reach out to DCW Salt Lake City on Twitter for all that information. We are also going to be doing shows at FitCon April 12th and 13th at the Mountain America Expo Center. Watch for our socials on that for, I'm sure, discount tickets of some variety. And then May 11th, we'll be doing Tussle Time 12 at Kamikazes in Ogden. Again, reach out to us on social media to get information about all of that and tickets for all those shows. All right. Anything else before we go, guys?
I think this has been a blast, and I can't wait to have Zan on again.
Agreed. And make sure to listen to our other show here on Be Hero Presents, Slightly Agitated, where Zan is becoming a regular contributor onto that show. It's been a great time.
I'm going to get you canceled, Mike. I'm going to get you canceled.
It's going to happen. One of our highest rated shows, go back and listen, is literally called The Episode That We Get Canceled, where Zan first guest starred. It was a great show. And if you ever had a question about smashing or passing on a Pokemon, that will help you answer it. All right, guys. For the rest of Be Hero Media, we have been Be Hero, Bump Card Wrestling Podcast, and that's us tapping out. Have a good night, guys.